to yet another episode of the Heart to Heart podcast with Mike and Shiko. Hello, baby girl.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. My cold is finally ending, and so I can feel my voice is coming back, so I don't sound like a frog anymore.
Which is good for this podcast.
Yes, which is good for the podcast. How are you doing? And I hope, by the way, you've had an absolutely fabulous week. Thank you so much for joining us yet again on another Sunday as we navigate life together on the Heart to Heart podcast. Kumbuka, it's all about your relationships, our relationships, and of course, finding out how to navigate them throughout this crazy thing we call life.
Yes.
I want to say this. I loved my birthday.
Gosh, I don't even remember. It feels like such a long time ago.
It was actually last Saturday.
Was it?
Yes, it was. It's not too far.
Feels like a long time ago.
It feels like a long time.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been a busy week.
Yeah, and you've had a good one though.
Yes, it's been a good, productive week.
Okay. Well, we had finished the book of Ruth. We are now moving forward into the book of Samuel. The book of Samuel that offers basically a lot of insights into the life of Hannah. In fact, I think in the Bible, this is where Samuel is born to Hannah. And Hannah thought she couldn't have kids, but you know what? God was faithful and she ended up having a child named Samuel.
Yes.
And one of the biggest things that she did in the book of Samuel is that she dedicated her child to God and say, this one is going to be a prophet. You know how like when you grow up, your dad says like, this one's going to be a doctor.
Or a lawyer.
Or a lawyer. Yeah, so she said this one's going to be a prophet.
Yeah.
That amount of, conviction and dedication to be able to say, my child is going to be something must mean that you must truly believe in that thing that you are offering your child up. So how about in relationships? Like, how do you know that I'm truly dedicated to you, that I'm truly committed to you? Because a lot of the times in relationships, we hope for the better to come as we go, like to keep growing and getting better. It's not like once you're in it, now you've achieved the maximum. That's kind of like a starting point. How do you stay dedicated without not yet seeing that end goal that you're looking for? I think for Hannah, it was having the child, but for a relationship, you're growing it. So
what does dedication look like? I feel like dedication looks different to different people. For example, if I were to ask you, when you look at me, how would you know I'm dedicated to you? What would I do to make you know that I'm dedicated, or to think that I'm dedicated to you?
I think your consistency in doing the things that I love, that for me shows me that you're dedicated, and that's why you don't deviate from that consistency. You always do the same things I enjoy doing. You always trying to be your best all the time, and because of that, I feel like, yeah, she's really dedicated and committed to the relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like for me, like you've said, it's about actions more than just words.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to see it to really believe it.
Are you a doubting Tom?
No, it's just that men can say a lot of things.
Yeah.
And that's why I get upset sometimes if you say you're going to do something and you don't. Because for me, that's such a big thing. Like, put actions behind your words. Don't just say things, but truly act on them.
So for you, for example, someone's word is a binding contract. Now it's like we've signed, kila mtu ako na copy yake, and you've said you're going to do something, go ahead and do it.
In a relationship, yes.
In a relationship.
Yeah, that's the way, that's what I want from a man. Like, I find a very, very, like it gives me the ick.
Yeah.
When guys are all talk and no action.
All talk. That's okay, but what would the action be then? Does that mean you can't trust someone's word or trust someone's your partner's promise and says, you know what, I'll get this done? Like, just
no, it means you can't say, oh, I would do anything for you.
Oh,
and then when it's raining, you can't even bring my car so I don't have to walk in the rain.
Oh yeah, no, I get that.
It's those types of things. Or you say, you know what, I'm gonna come through for you on these things, and then you don't. Or I'm gonna make sure I love you right, and then small things, and you're already stumbling.
Yeah, but at what point does dedication now become bad for a person? Like, you could be dedicated to something, but whatever you're that you're dedicating yourself to is actually breaking you down. Like you're being the good wife or the good husband, you're being the good everything. Like you're trying your best to make sure that, this works. But on the flip side, you're not receiving that dedication. But you don't also want to break your commitment to it because
That's
you know
the
what you
thing.
said, I'm gonna stay here through thick and thin.
Yeah, that's the thing. If my actions are not being reciprocated, should I stop?
Yeah.
Or should I committed to doing this, so should I continue even though you've broken the commitment?
Yeah.
And I mean, and it's hard. I feel like it's hard to continue being the one who is committed and dedicated when you're not getting the same thing back. But if you're in a marriage, you can't just like turn around and walk away.
Yeah, I know. It's like, for example, the book that we're doing, there's a part where a chapter that begins with the vows that you make during marriage, and then once you read those vows, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and health, through all of that, and then you sit and wonder, okay, I can't be dedicated to you, and I'm vowing to be dedicated to you, but what about in a marriage, and we are saying for richer, for poorer, for instance, but our poverty is being brought about
By you.
by one person's lack of effort. It's not that we could be rich, but you know what I mean.
Your fault we're going through the poorer.
Yeah, exactly. So how do you navigate that? Because I would feel bad if, for example, you say in sickness and in health, and then when I'm sick, you're hopping from one house to another.
House to another.
Yeah, one Tom, Dick, and Harry or whatever.
One person.
Yeah, because this guy he has a ED, so he can't do his thing anymore.
Jeez, that's the kind of sickness you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Oh my gosh. I mean, yeah, and that's the worst case scenario. No one wants to be in a one-sided relationship.
Yeah.
But I think there are times in relationships where one person is giving more than the other. Maybe the other one is going through a hard time. You never know. But I do think it's not always equal. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But what we're talking about is if it's completely one-sided.
Yeah.
And the other person has no intentions of changing, even when they know that that's, unhealthy for you.
I think though, dedication should come with a bit of intelligence. Don't be stupidly dedicated. So there are things you can be dedicated to that, for example, do not even give you any sense of joy or relief or sense of hope, basically. And you can be dedicated to a person, and as you are in that, the other person now, with lack of a better word, anafura kichwa, and sees like, this one is not going to go anywhere. This one is mine, and I know he or she is going to be like this always. And I feel like there has to be some sense of intelligence. The only concern that for me makes it like weird is that when you're dedicating yourself to a person and you're doing it in the context of marriage, and you're saying that the only way we part is if we die. And yet the other person could have not met their end of the deal in terms of the vows that you've made. What's going to happen?
I mean, that's why you should pick a spouse carefully. There's no other solution because I mean, you when you're getting married, you have to be sure, you have to be as sure as you can that the other person is going to fulfill their end of the bargain. But if the person doesn't, then
emenda tu hivyo.
Yeah, and I feel like that's not a reason to hold back. I sometimes feel like women and sometimes even men hold back on love, like they don't want to give too much. And for me, if you truly love, I am an all or nothing person. You know that about me.
Yeah.
Like, if I love deeply, I love wholly, I love loudly. And it's not a thought of, well, what if it doesn't work out? No, what if it does work out?
Exactly.
And me giving less of myself won't make it any easier.
And in fact, you're sabotaging it.
Yeah. So I get that question. You've been in 2 failed relationships. How do you have even the courage to love deeply and loudly and openly and, be devoted and committed and dedicated to someone else.
Yeah.
But that's the only way I know how to love. Like anything else is not worth it for me. I would rather be by myself.
Exactly. There's one thing that's really important also in relationships when you're talking about dedication and commitment. A lot of that comes with a lot of personal sacrifice. There's a lot of things that, for example, you enjoy doing as a person, but now that you're with another person, you have to consider how they feel about you keeping up with what you were doing in the past as a single person. What did you say to a guy who is in a serious relationship but still wants to act single?
Then be single. Why are you in a relationship if you want to actually do single person things? Just be single. Do you feel like some of these men feel pressure to have families, like to settle down, and that's why they are married technically, legally, I guess, on paper, but they don't act married?
I think they're not willing to, and that's why I brought in the aspect of sacrifice. They're not willing to sacrifice their lives, their preferences, their things that they enjoy for a better situation. They're not willing. They're looking at, hey, now if I get married, it means I can't go to Naivasha for a whole weekend without. It means they're not willing to sacrifice their lifestyles. And I think a lot of people don't understand that is part of the consequence of being in a serious relationship or married. That aspects of your lifestyle will have to stop.
But is it that much of a sacrifice? You mentioned like for a better situation.
Yeah.
For me, if I'm going to a better situation, then is it really a sacrifice?
But then again, better is relative. Is it really a sacrifice? Yes, I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
But yes, you can have to. For example, I mean, I could say I could work longer hours for better pay. I'm sacrificing my time, but I'm enjoying the reward, right? So it's still a sacrifice one way or another, because on the one end, I enjoyed doing these things. I enjoyed just knowing I could get into my car, drive wherever, and spend a whole weekend and not have to be answerable to someone. But all of a sudden, that is gone. Yes, I am getting a more stable situation that is better for me, but I will have to let go of this, which to me will feel like a sacrifice.
So that for me, if it's that quote unquote painful to go from a life that you think is so amazing, if it's so painful to go from that to being married, then I don't think you're ready to be married. Like, I think people who are still hanging on and believe that life, trips to Naivasha with the boys, are better than hanging out with your girlfriend, then just stay. Continue doing the trips to Naivasha with the boys. Like, keep doing that. I felt maybe they feel the pressure of time is passing. I need to settle down.
No. Most of the time, they just do. It's not about time is passing.
Then what do you want if you're enjoying your life so much, right? Driving in your Subaru to Naivasha.
Why did it have to be a Subaru?
Buying bottles at the club, and then you don't want to do these things with a girlfriend. So you really just want to hang out with your boys. Your team Sausage Fest all the way.
Yes.
Then stay there.
And you don't have to necessarily be involved with another person who you have to be answerable to.
Because clearly you're happier there. Choose happiness. Everyone should choose happiness.
And yes, and people, let me tell you guys something. The Bible actually does say marriage isn't for everyone.
Exactly.
It does say that. It's not for everyone. However, for those who choose this path, there is a special blessing that God has in store for you. That's all I'll say.
Is there really?
Yes, there is. There is. By the way, barabara ya Mungu si rahisi. But anyway, that being said, so you dedicate yourself to a person, you're committed to them, you've sacrificed a lot, and to sacrifice doesn't necessarily mean something of pain. Sacrifice can be giving up something that you consider valuable to you just for the sake of another thing. So it doesn't have to involve death. I know when I say sacrifice, people think we've slaughtered a goat.
Or it doesn't have to involve giving up trips to Vasha.
It doesn't have to. Just now you're going with someone else.
Now instead of calling in talent, you bring it with you.
Now, a lot of the times I find guys talk about this thing of the one that got away, right? They date this person because they weren't willing to dedicate and commit at the time. They say, no, I can't do that life, blah, blah, blah. Girl goes, right? She's now moved on. And then later in life, he keeps dating these, for lack of a better term, in the street girls. Yeah, and he does it and keeps getting pounded like a punching bag over and over, to the point that now later they realize, why did I leave Shiko? Akimaze, that was so beautiful. Like, do you think we learn from those ones who we call the ones that got away?
We should.
Yeah.
But I do not. I would find it so hard to live with that reality.
Yeah.
That the person I was supposed to be with, the love of my life, has gotten away. I don't know how guys do it. Like, to know that I should have stayed with this person. Oh, it would kill me every day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean.
No, I don't have a one that got away for me. And that's the thing. I hear people say it.
Yeah.
I hear people, or I've seen people say it about someone I'm dating, right? Like, hey, you wako ni vile tu nilifanya blanda.
Oh.
You know, and things like that. Like, but there are men who feel that way. I think if I look back, I don't think I've ever had the one that got away kind of scenario. In my head, I'm always like content
to move on.
Yeah,
but you're right. I think there are men and women. You meet someone and it's just the wrong timing.
Yeah.
It's the wrong timing for one or both of you, maybe because you're not ready or willing to commit and dedicate at that time.
Yeah.
But if you really believe that, circle the block. Like, go back.
To go back to that one.
I find that so sad.
Wow.
I find that thing so sad. Like, you know, someone has gone, like the love of your life,
Yeah.
who you believe to be the love of your life is somewhere in the world, and you
Yeah.
can't.
I know at least one guy who still struggles with it. That the girl he calls his one that got away is already married. She's got two kids.
So he can't go.
And he can't go back. So he's maintained this friendship with her. But like, even to this day, he admits it. Like, he says, Ati, I've never really settled down because I'm waiting for just in case if that person breaks up. Like, he says, if she came to his door today and said, take me and my two children, I'll take her.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, why didn't you learn? But I don't know why that's the case. It's like, I find like for me with my past relationships, I tried to show the person I was with, this is how I am. This is how I like things. And it's kind of like they did not want to look at it that way. They always looked at it like, you know what? I'm the prize, and stop telling me about who you are and what you are and all of that stuff. So you need to work your behind off to make sure that you give me the life that I deserve, that they've envisioned in their minds. And then it's later, and I think in my case, it's when I actually walked away that one of my exes decided, you know what? Oh no, he's actually going. And then that's when they realize, oh, can we make this work? And I don't understand that with people. Do you realize when someone is getting to that point where they're saying, I am leaving you? Do you know how many mistakes you've made by then?
Not everyone is like that. You and I say all the time, like, once we leave, we've left. But there's a lot of other people who
they dilly-dally.
Yeah, it's not a clean cut like that. And so maybe then the other person gets a little too confident, thinking there's nowhere they're going, and it bites them.
If an ex made a mistake, or you dated someone and then they made a mistake, genuinely a mistake, and they tried to make a comeback, that there's any chance for you, like that person can make any sort of comeback after that mistake. And I'm talking about a mistake that you consider this was like
a deal breaker
mistake.
Ooh, they're deal breakers for a reason.
Yeah.
And I think the nature of the deal breakers that I have, it would be very hard to just say, oh, I'm sorry. And then it's, you know what I mean?
Like, that person would have to put in a lot of work.
I feel like it also depends on how soon after the breakup. You know what I mean? If it's like, it's over and the next day they're like, oh, sorry, I messed up.
Oh, so you would need like room, like a bit of space.
No, opposite.
Yeah.
Like, if it was a mistake that they immediately realized and it wasn't so horrific, then maybe things could be patched up if it was soon after the mistake. If time elapses and the wound scabs over, for me, my heart hardens.
Even for deal breakers.
It has to be not so horrific. Like,
like you came home one day, you find me in the bed with another woman or something like that.
Yeah, no, that's not.
Like, I mean, how do I come back and
You
start?
can't. That one, forget. That one is gone.
Yeah.
Physical abuse, done. Like, of course, there are deal breakers where it doesn't matter. If time won't heal, nothing will. That's it. That's how it is.
I tell you, let's say I lied to you for 4 months. That's every morning I've been waking up and going like I'm going to Jobo, but I'm actually fired.
Yeah.
I've actually been fired, and I lied to you for 4 months and I'm employed and I don't have a job.
Gosh, I mean, that
Now
would
then
be,
you find out.
Yeah, obviously I would be hurt, but I think so much more would be going on behind that lie.
Yeah.
That I could see why you would do that, and it has more to do with how you see your role and me and everything. So those are things that you can forgive. But
Yeah. Do you believe that people truly learn from mistakes? Because I find like there's some people in their relationships, I don't think they truly learn.
I don't think everyone does. I mean, I think it's hard to admit that you're the one who made a mistake.
That you're wrong, yeah.
And then learn from it. I feel like even looking back at my relationships, I know that I had a role to play in what happened.
There's no way it's just one person.
Exactly. And so, the way they say, you're always the villain in someone's story.
Yes.
So you have to see where that person could be coming from and learn from that. Like, even though you know all the foul stuff the other person did.
Yeah.
I feel like you reach a point of maturity where you're like, I could see how I played a role in how the events unfolded or creating that monster. Even by doing nothing, even my inaction was something I did wrong. I should have spoken up. I should have called out stuff that was wrong earlier. So yeah, I do think the only way to move forward, and I feel like that's part of healing. Before you get into your next relationship, you should also process your role in the demise of the one you just
came out of.
Yeah.
That's true. There is lots of blame to go both ways whenever relationships end. It's the learning aspect for me that I struggle with sometimes, depending on the kind of mistake that has happened. Because sometimes I find like I justified for myself in my head, where I tell myself, but if she didn't do that, then I wouldn't have been like this. You know what I mean? So it's been an unlearning process to tell myself that, Mike, it doesn't need to make sense all the time. Sometimes you were wrong. It's just simply that. You were just wrong.
Because you're
just
not an
take the
angel.
hit.
Of course you were wrong sometimes.
Exactly. So you can't start saying, because she came home late, that's why I called this other chick. Now, surely, how is that reasoning in any way?
Or say, everything that happened was 100% the other person.
The other person's fault.
Impossible. It's two people in a relationship. And so it's important to think, okay, what could I have done differently? What am I going to do differently in the next relationship?
And what about those couples who constantly just can't let go of each other, yet they're bad for each other? Like
toxic.
Yeah, like they're really bad for each other. Like,
so the dedication is even a bad thing.
Yes, like they're both highly dedicated to each other.
But they shouldn't be
together. You just see, in fact, their dynamic in itself. They're always shouting at each other, they're always hitting each other. And if you try and come in between them and even try and say, hey, by the way, why don't you guys talk? You're the one who will be the problem.
Of course.
They'll gang up against you.
And I don't think there's any way to safely separate those kinds of couples until the two of them see their relationship for what it is. Or at least one of them sees the relationship for what it is. Like those ones they have to want the change themselves.
Yes.
You can't force it on them until they're ready, which can be really hard. Like if it's someone close to you.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking of my bestie. If she was in a toxic relationship and I was watching her get hurt over and over again, it would be so hard to watch.
But she's there, she's saying, I'm dedicated to my man, that's my husband.
And unfortunately, the only way that'll end is until she realizes that it's toxic.
Yeah. That being said, then if we can be toxic to each other, if we can be bad for each other, for lack of a better word, then I believe there has to be some sort of a line that we both know you shouldn't cross. And I wonder whether couples should have those lines, those boundaries rather, that, I will love you and I'll be the best person for you. I will care for you. I'll give my life to you. But the minute you cross this line,
you're testing my commitment.
Now you're testing my dedication and my commitment. Yeah? It's like those people, like we talked in the previous chapter when we were talking about in-laws. And there are couples who, for example, their in-laws can talk badly to your wife. I don't understand how even that works. Like, and I'd protect her from, my mother or my father who's talking to her badly.
Yes.
But also there's between each other, should couples have boundaries where this is what Shiko likes, this is what Mike likes, and if I go beyond this, I'm going to put doubts and questions in his mind such that maybe now he'll stop being as dedicated and committed to me as he used to.
Or this is the line he cannot cross.
Yes.
Or this is the line she cannot cross. I think it's important to have, for your own self-preservation, for your own mental health, emotional health, I think it is important to protect yourself with boundaries and to let the other person know, this is a line you're not going to cross.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell me, by the way, you'll never disrespect my brothers.
Yes.
Or my family, and I won't let them do the same to you.
Yes.
Like that one, no.
No.
So I feel like it's important to have those boundaries and to be open about them, because it's one thing to have the boundary, but you've not said it's a boundary is only a boundary if the other person knows
exactly.
It's visible.
And it has to be a healthy boundary.
Yeah.
Not those
What's the one
crazy
healthy
ones.
boundary you have? And a boundary, not a preference, but like this is a line that your partner should never cross.
Because we are together, I trust that my children will be safe. I expect that. No matter what. If I feel like my child is being discriminated against because my child is not biologically yours, now there we're going to have a problem. Like that can even cause me to say this is not working.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Those I don't like those couples who, whether it's women or men, you find that this couple goes for shopping but buys only for their children something. And then they don't buy for the other child because that's not biologically their child. I mean, for me, that's a boundary.
Yeah.
For me, any disrespect towards my faith is a boundary.
Yeah, that's a good one.
If you come and tell me Jesus ain't shit, then dude, even you, by the way,
you ain't shit
even
either.
you ain't shit. We're bounce.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a very healthy boundary.
Yes.
I feel like sometimes we can not sacrifice our spirituality for the sake of peace in a relationship, but downplay how important
it is.
It is.
Yeah.
Just to keep the peace in a relationship or to get along with the other person who maybe that's not their thing. And that's a healthy boundary to have.
And another boundary that I have is anything to do with my ability to earn money. Don't mess with my job. Just because we've had a fight doesn't mean you come to my office and you start throwing a tantrum and saying, where the hell are you?
You might add some spice to your show.
Don't mess with my bag.
Don't jeopardize.
Yeah, don't jeopardize my ability to make money.
That's fine.
I see couples who do that. Like they break up and they take each other out on social media. Or even not even break up, they have a fight.
They have a fight.
And they're like, oh, this guy and shit, did you know he did this just to spoil someone's bag? And for what purpose? So for me, that's a boundary. Like, don't touch my bag, don't touch my faith, and respect my children and family. We're good to go. Hapo tuko sawa.
That's funny. Are you showing up to your...
You're
giving me ideas.
No, there are women who do that. Yeah? They will come up to your office, throw a tantrum, where is this person? And you sit and you're looking at that woman and you're wondering, yes, whatever it is that brought you there, it couldn't wait until he finishes work and then you guys can sort it out at home. But you're coming to throw a tantrum in my place of work or at a meeting with a client. In fact, I always tell ladies, before you start throwing a tantrum, find out what are the facts. You could see me sitting in a restaurant with a woman and you think at me I'm cheating on you, and that woman right there, that is our next bag.
Yeah, but then if you had told me you're
I would tell you.
Naivas.
Yeah.
And then I walk into Zen Garden and there you are. Then there's got to be problems.
Then there's an issue.
Yeah.
So no, I can see that. So do you have any boundaries? You've not told me about yours though.
Yeah, I mean, we share a lot of boundaries. I think for me, my children are extremely important.
Yeah.
Like, even for you and I entering into a relationship, I was watching you. First of all, there was time before you met the kids.
Yeah.
And even when you did that first time, I was really watching because I knew that's like, this one, if you're in any way harmful to my children,
it doesn't matter how much you love me.
oh, listen, I could
done.
love you to death, but even now, maybe you've been faking it this whole time, and then
I
we
flip.
get married and you'll flip on out of here. Flip as you go. So yeah, those are some boundaries. Spirituality is another one.
Yeah.
And respect, obviously. Like if I feel I'm being torn down as a woman, if I feel like you're making me feel less than or unworthy, I need to protect myself. So there's the boundary there that I wouldn't let you cross, like disrespect me like that.
Ah, okay. And what about your back though?
What kind of an idiotic man would
No, like what if I'm one of those guys who tells you, I want a stay-at-home wife. I'll take care of everything. All I want you to do is stay at home. You can write your books, but that's it.
If I choose to do that,
Yeah.
that's fine. If you make it a requirement,
Yeah.
then we're going to have problems. I want it to be like a choice. Like
Yeah.
I'll be like, let me go work or let me stay home, and you're like, do whatever you want, baby. I got you.
I got you.
Then it's okay.
Now that's
But if
fine.
you're like, no, I want you at home, barefoot, pregnant, cleaning, nah.
There are women who go through that, and I find it so sad where they marry a guy and the guy says like, I don't want my wife to work. I want my wife to be at home taking care of the kids. And then
And
she
he
does
hadn't
that.
said that before.
Yeah.
This is news to her.
This comes now as a surprise. You find like some 10, 15 years later, this guy is having clandays left, right, and center, or even wants to leave this woman. Like her entire career has gone down the drain. She has to literally start over, probably with 2-3 kids. And I always think that for ladies, you need to never, ever be with a person, in my opinion, who doesn't let you make a bag of some sort.
Of some sort.
Yeah.
Or if you want to be a homemaker, there's this whole thing, this trad wife. Have you heard of the trad wife movement?
No.
So trad wife stands for traditional wife.
Yeah.
And it's being romanticized on TikTok. And then the voices are like, my husband wanted a peanut butter sandwich, and so I started making bread from scratch, and then I went and found grapes and I blended them up. So it's this whole thing that being a traditional wife is this like perfect picture scenario. And actual traditional wives of many decades are coming out and saying, listen, it may look cute on TikTok, but please never forget this man, after you've made for him bread from scratch, peanut butter after grinding peanuts and harvesting them, grapes from the garden, can up and leave you. So while you're doing that, it's fine if that's your thing, but always take care that if he's to up and leave, you can stand on your own 2 feet.
Yeah, do what my grandma used to say. She was using your example. She would say, if you're making him that bread from scratch, he's 3-4 slices are there from scratch, but there's another 6-7 that I'm going to sell in the market. That's how my grandma would put it. That the idea behind it is, and ladies, please hear me out on this one, because men are weird. The idea is have a hustle of some sort. Even if you're selling jugus, sawa. There's one day that small income that he probably daraus and thinks, we anatengeneza hapa njugu na nini. In the neighborhood, kidogo, everyone is coming to your door to buy those things. Before you know it, one of your neighbors, can you supply in the office? Before you know it, you already have a branded company you're dealing with. And before you know it, you end up being so financially independent that this guy is even wondering, this woman doesn't tell me about gas imeisha. Because you already bought that gas a long time ago and you don't need to basically come back and keep asking him for money. Plus, I find it quite diminishing that certain things, I don't believe you should be going to your man to ask him for money for that, like if you wanted to buy yourself some nice panty, that should be something you're able to do by yourself. Right?
That is very random. I've never heard
think about it.
I mean, sure, if that's how you feel.
Give me 5K, I want to go buy panties. Really?
You'd rather she has the money to buy herself.
Certain things are your things. Like there are things that you may see that you want to buy, but you really want to always, for everything you want to buy, you have to call this one person?
No, I mean, and maybe it's not the most traditional marriage opinion. It isn't for sure, but I don't think anyone should be completely, as an adult, completely financially dependent on someone else if they don't have to be.
Yes.
If you can, in any way, if you're a stable mind and able-bodied, then maybe he's the nicest man on earth.
Could be, yeah.
But maybe one day he'll get fired and it's your little income, if it's a little, or your big income,
or he dies.
The house, or he dies.
What happens?
You decide he's nonsense. And you want to be able to walk out without the financial thing keeping you there.
Yeah. And there's also another thing that you need to understand, that with children involved, men who are the sole breadwinners, without their wives being part of that equation, tend to spend a lot of time away from home. So who is teaching these kids about the value of work, about the value of earning an income, about the value of all of these things? Because that man is out there busy trying to come home and say, hey, we've made $1 million shillings, right? But that kid doesn't see that. The first entrepreneur a child sees is the mother.
Yeah.
That's the first one. When she makes those things, packages them nicely, and tells the child, this is for lunch, for school, or this is a snack.
Yeah.
That's the first give and take experience they start learning. Hey, by the way, okay, so mom makes this, and next time he's gonna ask, can I get that? And you'll say, hey, no, we don't have that, it's run out, I have to go to the supermarket and buy it. The first lessons of entrepreneurship come from motherhood. Right? Okay. With that being said, there's still one more thing that we need to talk about, and this is all about that aspect of humility in relationships. I mean, when we talk about a lot of couples that we see today, there's higher expectations right now between couples than they were, I guess, back in the day. In the times of our parents, you probably only needed to have a good job and, you find a wife. In fact, people would be running after you to give you a wife. But nowadays, I find like humility has disappeared. You find couples where a man says, yeah, I make more than my wife and therefore she should listen to me. A woman says, I make more than that man, or I'm the breadwinner here, so because of that, hakuna kitu huyu mtu ananiambia. How important is it to be humble with each other, despite our roles, just to be able to know that, you know what, this is my woman, and imagine I'm no longer an MD that I came from being there, now when I come home, I'm Baba Nani.
Or I'm an MD at my job, and when I come home, he's the leader of the household.
Yes.
I mean, that takes practice, I think, for both of you. Because hopefully when you met, that's not how you interacted, right? You interacted as a man and as a woman.
Yeah.
And humility is a part of love.
Yes.
An aspect of loving someone fully is being humble enough to be led when you need to be led, or listen, or sacrifice, all of those things.
Or even when you make a mistake, being humble enough to accept that I made a mistake and I'm sorry. This is something really important, and I'll speak to the gentlemen for this one. Ladies, maybe Shiko can advise on this. Just because you're a member of parliament, just because you're a managing director, just because you're CEO, group head of this and this, when you come back home, that title you leave outside the door. Imagine, even the president, I'm sure, President Ruto, when you go back home, you are now Baba Shalim. It's like, presidency unaacha huko nje. And these are important things to understand, to be humble within your four walls of your homestead. Out there, be the beast you want to be. But once you come home, that humility, I think, is a really, really a big thing.
Yeah, and I think for corporate women, let me speak from that aspect.
Marketing managers.
Or if you're a corporate baddie in any capacity, I feel like, honestly, sometimes you want to come home and not have to make any decisions.
Yeah.
I want to come home and not have to be the decision maker or the final signature or the one saying this and not that. Sometimes I want to come home and I actually want to submit. Other times it feels like, why are you deciding how we're spending our money when I know damn well I have an MBA, I know how to how to budget.
Now you see, where is the humility? I've got an MBA.
So
what are you saying?
Sometimes it feels like it's a balancing act, and sometimes it's harder than others. But it is important. It's
important for you to be humble with your partner. I believe that's a key aspect of any marriage, any relationship. Unfortunately, we'll have to end it there. It's been lovely having you join us right here on the Heart to Heart podcast.
And I think think we've ended it in a perfect place because the next book is Kings. And I think the way we're talking about, humility and how you come home and who runs what, it's important to talk about roles and responsibilities and like leadership in the household.
So, I'm about to lead you somewhere right now.
Oh my God.
I think we have time. I need to lead you there.
Bye.
So we'll catch you again next Sunday right here on the Heart to Heart podcast. My name's Mike Mondo. You can find me on Instagram, Mike_Mondo.
And I'm at Shikonguru on Instagram.
Sawa. Have a fantastic rest of the weekend. Do I make some big saying or?
Do you want to?
I could.
Go for it.
Here's my big saying for today. If you feel it, if you like it, and if you can smell it, all of that put together will never, ever guarantee you joy of having it.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
Take it to the bank. You'll understand it. If it hasn't hit home yet, just go think about it. And then we'll figure it out later. So have a fantastic rest of a weekend. Tunasema kwaheri. Thank you so much for joining in on the podcast. And very soon we will be on video. So just let us, wrap things up vizuri.
You'll see how I make faces at him during the podcast.
She tries.
All right.